afternoon, everybody. It's Tracy Di Bartolo, Thermomix consultant, coming to you from McLaren Vale and my lovely kitchen. And today I am doing some tomato pasta sauce. Now this, again, like most of my recipes, is a cookie dough recipe. And one of the ingredients is just some crushed tomatoes, canned tomatoes. So it's a very easy recipe that you can do anytime. However, today I have slightly adapted it because I have got my hands on some of these beautiful Roma tomatoes. And they're very, very ripe and just sort of starting to get to that point where they really need to be cooked. I've got quite a few kilos of them. And this recipe is perfect to use up these tomatoes. So all I've done, just to get things started before I went live, is I have pre-chopped the onions and the garlic, along with a little bit of some good quality olive oil. Just chop those for 3 seconds, and then on 120 degrees for 7 minutes, I've just cooked off that. So I will show you what that looks like. So really, that's just your chopped up onion and your garlic with some olive oil, and I'll just give it a bit of a stir. So that's the basis of your sauce, just like any good Italian tomato sauce. And at that point, when you are chopping up those onions and a bit of garlic, you can easily add some hidden veg if you wanted to. So sometimes I put in some carrot or some zucchini. Just pop it in at the same time that it asks you to put in your onion and garlic. Chop it up just for those few seconds. Have a look at it. If you think it needs to be a bit finer, go back and do it for another 3 seconds, and then cook it off. Okay, so that was just to save a bit of time. Now, it's asking for 800 grams, as I said, of the tinned tomatoes, crushed. I'm using the fresh one, so all I've done is just cut the little tops off and then chop them in half. The scales actually don't come up at this point, but I am going to activate them by using the 3 little dots. So if you've got a TM6 and you don't know what those 3 little dots are for, just experiment and you'll see that it brings a drop-down box. You can open the preview, which then gives you exactly what your screen is going to look like in subsequent steps. It will give you the recipe detail, which is basically what you see at the beginning of your recipe. So all of your ingredients and your steps, your hints and tips, things like that. It also lets you access the scales, which I'm going to do now. And the other option is to cancel the recipe. So it's a really good option to have if you just want to do one element of a recipe and then you just want to jump out and not continue further. Saves you having to go next. You can just say cancel recipe. All right, scales. I'm just going to pop in these. Now, 800 grams was what it's asking for, but I know from experience that it can easily take up to 1 kilo. And I always think if I'm making pasta sauce, I just will make as much as I can. So that's just over 1 kilo. So I'll close that down. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly chop those because I haven't chopped them by hand. I've just cut them in half. So let's use the Thermomix to do this bit of chopping for us. So I'm going to pop the lid on. And before I continue with the rest of the recipe, I'm going to press the home key. So this is another good little hint and tip for you. If you want to jump out of a recipe, do something else, like I'm going to just do a little quick chop, but then you want to get back into the recipe without having to work it out too hard, just press the home key. It will give you a little green bookmark. You can now go off and do a limited amount of things, but in this case I'm just going to chop for about probably only need to do it about 5 or 6 seconds, and I'm going to chop it on about speed 6. Awesome. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like. So now it's going to look more like tinned tomatoes. Is in fact quite a lot more like tinned tomatoes. So that has chopped that completely. It's going to be perfect for the tomato pasta sauce. Press the little green bookmark and there you are. You're just back exactly where you left off. So that's a really good thing to remember when you're starting to do a few little twists for your recipes. Teaspoon of sugar. Now, my husband is from his descendants are from southern Italy, and his mother always puts in a little bit extra sugar. Apparently that's how they like it, I've been told. Whether I'm wrong or right, I'm not sure, but that's what I've been told. So that's just a tablespoon. Also just a half a teaspoon of salt. Always make sure when you're doing any recipe really, but especially this one, it's all about the quality of your ingredients. So don't just use any old salt. I use some really good quality salt, and I use the sea salt flakes. Okay, then of course the basil leaves. Now these are my basil leaves, the last of them off of my basil, so they're a bit small, and it says 5 to 10, but honestly I've just chucked in a handful there. All right, now my one last secret ingredient that I always add to my tomato pasta sauce is paprika. So this is the Hungarian style sweet paprika. So I don't use the smoked paprika. That's just got too strong a flavour. And I just sprinkle in a tablespoon of that. Done. So the recipe then just says to put the lid on, and it's going to cook for 20 minutes on 100 degrees at speed 2. Beautiful. Turn it on, walk away, go and do something for 20 minutes, and then you come back to it. That is actually the end of the recipe in cookie dough, but I personally prefer a thicker sauce, personal preference. So if you do, then it's very easy. Once I'm going to just pretend that I've gotten out of it, okay? And it's the end. What you do is you just press the back arrow, so it takes you back to the step where you were 20 minutes, 100 degrees on speed 2. And at this point, I put on top an empty steaming basket. Put that in, so I've removed the measuring cup, put on the basket, and the time, I just dial that down to about 10 minutes. So I do it in 10-minute chunks, because it really does depend on your tomatoes after all. With your temperature, I increase that all the way up to Verona, because what we want to do is we want to reduce that tomato pasta sauce down so it's not quite so liquidy, makes it nice and thick, and that's how I like it for whatever it is that I'm choosing to use it for. And you can put it on speed 2 if you like, anywhere between 1 and 2. Honestly, I haven't found much of a difference. So that's really it for this recipe. It is super, super simple. So if you've got your hands on some nice Roma tomatoes, they're around at the moment, make up a batch or 2 of your tomato pasta sauce. And if you want to check back on my videos, I've also done a nice tomato paste recipe using the fresh Roma tomato. So what I've got left, I probably will do another batch of those. That's it for the tomato pasta sauce from me today. So please enjoy. Hope that you give it a try. And by all means, put a comment on. Let me know what you think. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What extra ingredient would you put in? Is it something that you do with your pasta sauce recipes? I would love to know. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.